And now it's time for the Invisible Things, a fireside chat with Danny D.
Well, hello there, my sweet, sweet digital people. Welcome back to the Invisible Things, a show where we discuss what isn't always visible to the naked eye. Today's invisible topic is ignorance.
Dear Danny D, what is ignorance? It sounds like a bad word.
Well, not necessarily, fictional little kid. Ignorance is a lack of information or knowledge. It's only bad when it's not addressed or consciously improved upon. When we are birthed onto this giant rock floating in space we humans call planet Earth, we're just a drooling little vessel of life that's full of love, gas, and wonder. Our brain is a wide open field ready for society to plant the seeds of knowledge and wisdom so that we can reap the harvest of our success. Every child under the age of 7 is in a slower brainwave state than adults are. This brainwave state is called theta, otherwise known as hypnosis. Nature has set up this system so that you as a new human on Earth can be hypnotized into how to be a functioning member of society. There are mirror neurons in your brain so that you can watch your parents and the people around you to learn how it all works. And being so young and not having an analytical mind yet, we are unconsciously being programmed into the person that the people raising us want us to be. You pick up on their beliefs about money, politics, and the age-old saying, well, this is life and this is just the way things are whether you like it or not. And that, my dear sweet people, is a big old filthy exaggeration. That's not the truth, that's just their point of view. Now, most of the time it's done with a loving intention, but this is why people unconsciously turn into their parents. By the time we're 35 years old, you're basically running on an autopilot program that you downloaded before you were 7. Unless we consciously create new habits from the lessons we've learned and the choices our ancestors made, history will indeed continue to repeat itself.
Dear Danny D, where can I spot ignorance?
Ignorance can manifest in people's social media posts, inappropriate comments made from insecure men to their women co-workers, and a topic that is still inexcusably relevant today, racism.
Dear Danny D, racism is over. I read about it in my 4th grade history class.
Not quite, little buddy. The level of ignorance about racism in this country is raging higher than ever these days. And I am just as guilty as any other ignorant white person for not realizing how it's been an ongoing annihilation for people of color in this country. And that, digital viewers, is extremely disturbing. Say, I've got an idea. Why don't we take a look back into America's history and see how ignorant white people have been the entire time? Come along. The thought process of white people when they first came to this country as immigrants were, we'll just call the people native to this land, savages. Call them savages and we'll just take this land for our own. Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll just take it. A system we call appropriation. The action of taking something for one's own use, typically without permission. Another example, one day some basic white guy said, you know, I should arrange a system to buy a black person. Yes, I'll buy a black person against their will, I'll call them my own and make them do all my work for me. Yes, that's what I'll do. I'm way more important as a human with white skin. You know, my money could buy this. People then became a little bit more conscious of what a completely inhumane idea that was, and then decided, I won't own them anymore, but we'll definitely give them subpar education, subpar jobs, subpar housing, and definitely imprison them at a disproportionate rate, and we'll definitely have to use different bathrooms. There's no question about that. Definitely different bathrooms. Whew! As you can see, we've had a long history with ignorance and white stupidity. Supremacy. But today, dear sweet white people, we have absolutely no excuse not to be educated.
Dear Danny D, who do you think you are? You sound like a mansplaining white savior attempting to swallow up the guilt of his ancestors.
Valid accusation, my aggressive little friend. I assure you that's not my intention, nor am I trying to inform the lived experience of a black person. I just don't believe it's black people's job to educate us white folk, especially after looking at these horrifying numbers. In this chart showing people under 18 in poverty, you can clearly see that the line for black children is 3 times higher than the line for white children. And this one showing arrests of minors aged 10 to 17. If you don't think these two charts have something in common, you are definitely one of those people who could potentially fly a Confederate flag from your pickup truck. Remember how we discussed we are unconsciously hypnotized into our belief patterns before 7 years old? Well, if a person grows up in a country where the numbers clearly show that they're not a priority, that person's way of life is already set at an extreme disadvantage from the day they were born. Once again, not trying to be a millennial mansplaining white savior here, but my privileged white people, since we have the resources and the advantage to provide allyship to those not born into success, we gotta get off the defense, look at the evidence, and intentionally put forth the energy of being anti-racist. We have to form new neural circuits and adjust our behavior because that is way past its expiration date. In fact, today, we have a little song that my Caucasian crowd can sing every time we start to feel those old feelings of that white privilege complacency. It's time to be better. You know it really shouldn't have had to take this long. Yeah, it's time to be better. We'll raise our awareness as we sing this song. I'll hold myself accountable and all my friends too. I'll listen and I'll learn, this is my promise to you, that it's time to be better. As a fellow human being, I will stand up with you.
Dear Danny D, when people say Black Lives Matter, that doesn't make sense to me. Don't all lives matter?
You silly goose, of course all human lives matter. But the way we've intentionally blocked physical, financial, and emotional support to black people in the American system has made it clear that black lives really haven't mattered yet. Even if racist authoritarians can't admit it, I'm pretty sure that you and we can do better.
Dear Danny D, I don't like the way white privilege sounds. It makes me sound like I did something wrong, but I'm just a little kid.
I know the term white privilege can be triggering to some people, but it's also not really about how we feel right now. We have to get over our own white fragility and recognize that we have unknowingly and knowingly benefited from the United States of America being built on white supremacy and dismantle it at its root. It's time to be better. Ignorance is no longer going to fly. Yeah, it's time to be better. It's time to bid the old prejudice ways goodbye. It's time for self-awareness to take over the reins. It'll be uncomfortable, embrace those growing pains, 'cause it's time to be better. Don't let your mom and dad say they're too old to learn.
Dear Danny D, I'm not racist. I have black friends.
Well, I think that's absolutely wonderful. But remember, systemic racism is unconsciously downloaded into the way that we see this physical reality. Also, making the distinction that having a black friend does not equate to standing up for the injustices perpetrated against black people, which is indeed the manifestation of anti-racism and allyship, which we love. Now I will make some mistakes, but I will do what it takes to be better. Come on, all my white people, join in on the key change. It's time to be better. You know it really shouldn't have had to take this long. Yeah, it's time to be better. All the Karens, we'll raise our awareness as we sing this song. I'll hold myself accountable and all my friends too. I'll listen and I'll learn, this is my promise to you, that it's time to be better. As a fellow human being, I will stand up with you. Wow, nothing like a classic all-American sing-along, am I right? Well, it looks like the fire's just about out, which means that we're out of time, as we are with ignorance. So my dear sweet white people, we gotta keep listening, we gotta keep learning. Because when it comes to willfully ignorant people, there's nothing karma loves more than sneaking up behind them and smooching them on the lips. Until next time. Simple blessings.
This has been The Invisible Things. Now let's get it together, America.